Sometimes I really want to open up this podcast like that radio guy from Parks and Rec and be like, hello, welcome to the Names Daily podcast, where today we are exploring the realms of grooviness. But nope, just me. This is Alex with the Names and Coffee podcast. I'm the name mentor, and I'm just really excited to be talking to you guys today about a really fascinating subject / can we call it a debate? I hate debating. A really fascinating statement that I see made that I want to address. And I talked about it a little while ago on Instagram when I was doing my story question and answers. This really sweet gal who has followed me a long time asked me the question about how I feel with so many boy names now being used for girl names. And I see this so much. I'll see people commenting on my girl posts and being like, oh, another name lost to the girls. There's no more boy names left. And being, what you would call a namer, somebody who loves etymology and loves, the history of words and names and its social impact and its fashion impact and all that jazz. When I hear that, I go, I don't want to hear people say that anymore. I don't want to hear how all the good boy names are going to the girls and there'll be none left for the boys. I don't want to hear that anymore. I think that, over the last 150 years or so, especially since names have begun to be recorded in the late 1800s, so at least since then, but I'd say longer, we've gotten to be pretty colonized in our naming choices. What's deemed appropriate and what's not, and our circle. We hear names in our circle, and as we've gotten to know some more people, our circle's grown a little bit, but really, it's been just about the same names. So when I hear people making statements like that, I can't help but think that, we're growing very protective of an over-dipped well. What does that mean? Back in the 17th century with the Puritans, bless their hearts, they were very creative and earnest in their names. You've got, abstinence and Job raked out of the ashes and such. And could you imagine meeting somebody today named Job raked out of the ashes? No. I think even if you met a Job today, that you'd be like, wow, that's interesting. But if you look at the top 1,000, top 100 list of names since they've been recorded, it's been just about the same. You see new names coming in and out. But overall, it's been the same well. And there are so many more names beyond that well that I go, well, if there are names that are getting, quotes, used up by girls, you need to widen your circle. You need to stop being protective of an over-dipped well, because there are a lot of people naming babies. And if something like that is a concern for you, or popularity, then you need to broaden your horizons and you need to be willing to step out of your comfort zone. Because basically, to me, what you're saying is, I'm the only one allowed to manage this well. I'm the only one allowed to pick out of this well for names that I see fit. And that's not reality. Millions and millions of people have been drawing from the same well of names. And I think it's time for us to go back a little bit. Back before the 10th century, you would have heard women named Adeltrude and Clotilde, and men named Fordwin and Humphrey. And the thing that fascinates me about this is you really want to challenge your worldview and think that you're open-minded. But would you name your daughter Adeltrude? Would you name your son Humphrey? Well, there's the rub. And that is, to me, a major identifier of comfort zone. I mean, I feel like I've talked a lot about this. I champion following your heart. I also champion you need to name your children names that you are comfortable wearing yourself. You need to name with intention and love and honor. And when I say follow your heart, I mean, that you stand up for you and that you're not allowing other people to speak into your life in such a way that silences you. I think that that's really important. And obviously, I don't think people should be naming their kids abstinence or Joe Break Dad of the Ashes or some of these heavy, just negative handles. But why not Humphrey? And I think that these are things that we need to ask ourselves of, have I been colonized into this thinking of I can only draw from this well of names? Is this what's appropriate? I don't want to name my baby something that's inappropriate. Well, what's inappropriate with Adeltrude? We can totally see abstinence is not an appropriate name. Like, how could you saddle somebody with that? But, on the Mayflower, there was a baby named Peregrine. I think that is so rad. Could you imagine being a peregrine? Now, if I put that out to some of the super closed-minded population of who believe strongly in appropriate names, in quotes, they'd probably scoff at me and think that I was a crazy creative. But I'm posing this question to, shake us a little bit and just get us thinking about, are we in this weird 150-year-old comfort zone? What's okay and what's not okay is a lot broader than this well that we're circling. And I think that if you are nervous about your son being mistaken for a girl or a woman, I would like to think that we're at this point in time where he could just brush it off if he wants to. I think that we need to honor each other and brush it off. It's really not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things and with everything that this next generation has to face. Things that we as humans just have to face. I think probably, the whole a boy named Sue thing has scared people away from saddling their son with being mistaken for a woman. And I just think it's time to just move on from that. We have bigger fish to fry. And also, we as women, not that long ago, had to do business with male names to be taken seriously. And I just think that all this, name baloney needs to be thought about again. It just needs to be faced and worked out, to just not take things black and white. I think that looking beyond the list here in America would be very fascinating. I think that we within ourselves need to be careful that we honor heritage and that we're not straight up using extremely cultural names from a culture that is not a part of you. I think we need to honor that. But I think a fascinating thing to look at it as, except for the indigenous who literally have always lived here, like everyone else was from somewhere else. And so even though I'm an American, my great-great-grandparents came from Poland. And my other great, however many greats, grandfather came from Wales. And like, there's so many neat things to explore in that realm and just be a little more open-minded. I mean, it would be great to be a lot more open-minded about this, but I'm trying to take it easy on you guys. To broaden some horizons and to broaden out past this concept of a handful of these Americanized names. I was looking through a list of names beyond the 17th and 18th century, and like I saw Scholastica. It is so amazing and so fun. But could you imagine? This is what makes me so sad. Could you imagine if you got a birth announcement from somebody who had said that their baby name was Scholastica? Would there be a part of you that would reel? I think that needs to be evaluated. Our comfort zone needs to be stretched. There are so many amazing names. Don't get caught up on all the names getting used up. There are so many. So that's all I wanted to say. I think that this is honestly some really great food for thought, and that we need to allow ourselves to stop camping around this well of what is American appropriate. And we namers have the responsibility to begin opening up more awareness for names beyond the last 150 years. It's a celebration. I think it's amazing to honor people from the past. I think it's amazing to wear a name that people haven't thought of in 600 years. I just think that this is so incredibly rad. If you're the kind of person that doesn't want to use a name that's already been used, then I guess create your own, but create it in such a way that it honors the person and it's a name that you would want to wear. Those are the guidelines, guys. In my opinion, that should be about as complicated as it gets. Is it honorable? Does it speak love and life over this person? Is it appropriate in that it doesn't hurt other people? And is it something that you'd want to wear? And I would encourage you to do some research and look around and find some of these amazing names that aren't in the well. So love you guys, and thanks for tuning in. A lot of exciting things are happening, and I'll talk to you later. I hope you live a good life. I hope you live a good life. I hope you live a good